like some kind of druid dude lifting the veil. What is the veil? Where can we find it? And can it be lifted? The veil, also known as a thin place, is so tantalizing to us. As John Lennon went on to say, some call it magic, the search for the Grail. And make no mistake, there are many folk who go searching for thin places. There are whole travel companies dedicated to travelling to certain places in hope their guests will experience that magical, deeply personal sense of connection at a thin place. I wonder how many of them find what they're looking for. I part the out-thrusting branches and come in beneath the blessed and the blessing trees. Though I am silent, there is singing around me. Though I am dark, there is vision around me. Though I am heavy, there is flight around me. Thin places, like fairy, it's just a term that we use, a name that we've given to an idea we're striving to understand. Hey, we have to call it something, don't we? For some, thin places may feel a proper description as they feel a sense of something so delicate or fine that they can reach through to the other side of it. Others prefer the term the veil, perhaps imagining there is a delicate curtain between the worlds or realms which can be raised and lowered. But the name we use isn't really important. What matters is trying to understand what it is. Sophia Morrison was a highly respected folklorist from the Isle of Man, and way back in 1911, she made what I believe to be a really good point about keeping our minds open to new understanding. Even let it be granted that 9 out of every 10 cases of experiences with fairy can be analysed and explained away, there remains the 10th. In this 10th case, one is obliged to admit that there is something at work which we do not understand, some force in play which, as yet, we know not. It is more than possible that our descendants may make discoveries marvellous in the realms both of mind and matter, and that many things, which nowadays seem to the materialistically minded the creations of credulous fancy, may in the future be understood and recognised as part of the one great scheme of things. Well, we're not quite there yet. We still don't really understand the other realms, but over the ages we have come to accept that a thin place is somewhere we feel that our world or realm is at its closest to another in the physical form, a place where our senses are affected, aroused, or even overwhelmed by the proximity to the fairies or spirits which dwell there. This is usually a good thing, a pleasurable thing, at least on reflection. 12 to 13 years ago, on a clear moonlight night about 12 o'clock, I was about 5 miles from town, following the by-road. When I began to mount a hill, there was a sudden and strange quietness, and a sense of isolation came over me, as though the joy and peace of my life had departed. From different personal experiences like this one, I am firmly of the opinion and belief that the fairies exist. One cannot say that they are wholly physical or wholly spiritual, but the impression left upon my mind is that they are an absolutely real order of beings, not human. Imagine a moment finding yourself, whether it be deliberately or accidentally, in a thin place. It could be a place in the natural world, a place of beauty and tranquility. It's easy to picture it being an ethereal sort of experience, isn't it? A descending mist surrounding you, a chill up the spine, and your hair's all standing on end. But would it really be like that? Some who have shared their experience of stumbling into a thin place report that the light around them seems to change. Music is often heard, and sometimes even voices or laughter. A lucky few even see creatures of the other realm. Well, how long this sensation lasts varies, but it usually ends as quickly as it began. And if they return to the site hoping for a second experience, absolutely nothing happens. From all we know of the fairy, from all that we've learned, we know one thing for certain. The real fairy are no Tinkerbells. Even the most benevolent of the good folk should always be treated with caution and respect at all times. So what if we find ourselves an uninvited visitor at their door? You know, those who have experienced thin places often report a feeling of fear or unease, which is equal to their awe or sense of joy. A sinking realization that we're not in control of the situation, and this is fueled by a sense of vulnerability and helplessness. They know that they're potentially in danger, but it still feels good. For thrill seekers, this would be the ultimate exhilaration. But if our sudden appearance at a thin place or the veil isn't welcome, can we still experience some sort of spiritual enlightenment or physical pleasure? Yes, we can, but not in the moment. The funny thing is, most people who find themselves in the situation are so overcome with surprise or shock or even confusion that while it's happening, they feel altogether disorientated. It's only later at another location, safe and quiet and on reflection, that the experience becomes less unsettling and more enlightening. The physical sensations they experience can be acknowledged. Their understanding of the world around them, things seen and unseen, explode with possibility. And finally, their sense of the spiritual is awakened, but only after, once they're safe. One modern theory on thin places tells us they are any place of transition, a doorway, a gate, the seashore. These are all places where very little movement will take you from one place to another. So thin places could be anywhere. We need not be sitting meditating beside a fresh running stream, although that is a great idea too. If our minds are clear and open, we might find a thin place in a church, a park or a cemetery, or one of my favourite places, a library. A place we slow our thoughts, turn away from the noise and focus on one thing. Any place we can open our minds to the other realm. I wonder if we can't really understand thin places without also considering spirit of the land or spirit of place. Many people believe that thin places are most easily found at sacred sites, such as ring forts, ancient burial places or cemeteries, stone circles and holy wells. You know, churches and holy places founded in the last 2,000 years or so are often credited with possessing special spiritual energy. But did you know that many of these modern sacred places were constructed on or very near to places deemed spiritually sacred by our ancient ancestors? They're often recognizable by the presence of old trees, such as the oak or the yew tree. Do you think these new religions were hijacking existing energy, or trying to harness the spiritual power of the land for their own religion? Or was building their houses of worship there an attempt to persuade people to their cause? Well, if we stick with the notion that thin places are just that, places, sites which can be visited, I'd love to share a little something with you. In his book, Wisdom Sits in Places, author Keith Basso shares these beautiful thoughts from an Apache man which suggests that the place is key. Wisdom sits in places. It's like water that never dries up. You need to drink water to stay alive, don't you? Well, you also need to drink from places. You must remember everything about them. You must learn their names. You must remember what happened at them long ago. You must think about it and keep on thinking about it. Then your mind will become smoother and smoother. You will walk a long way and live a long time. You will be wise. Are thin places static? Are they gateways attached to certain land? Or do you think they move around, that they can be anywhere the fairy or spirits want them to be? At the risk of sounding like I'm on the fence, I think it could be both. I don't think we should restrict ourselves to believing one thing or the other, but as always, to keep an open mind. As Emily Dickinson said, the soul should always stand ajar, ready to welcome the ecstatic experience. But one thing I feel sure of is we can't find thin places on demand. We can't turn up at a place where others have experienced a thin place and expect to feel the same. It is a deeply personal experience with many contributing factors leading to success or failure. You know, I have this funny vision of a group of the good people hanging out near a bunch of standing stones, and up rolls a bus. Then a stream of people pile out and they're suddenly wandering around the stones, touching them, leaving gifts maybe, being all wistful and hovering and hoping to feel the veil. You know, I imagine the good people are falling about themselves, laughing in bewilderment at our behaviour. Could it be we only sense a thin place when they allow us to? Well, have you ever stumbled across a thin place yourself? I'd really love to hear of your experience. Did you interact with the other side? Did you experience pure consciousness, every atom in your body tingling in bliss, or was it a frightening experience? And how has it changed your perception of the world? I hope I've given you something curious to ponder over the coming week. Clearly there are no easy answers when musing over the bridge between the realms, but it's fun to think about, isn't it? I have loads more incredible fairy videos lined up for you in the coming months on topics that are certain to surprise you, so be sure to subscribe and ding the notifications bell so you don't miss any videos. Until next time, stay curious and be kind. Cheerio.